From the Rabotat Records studio, introducing Rabotat Radio, an open forum bringing together artists from our community to yours to discuss music, food, film, and everything in between. My name is Madame Defer, and I'm co-founder of Rabotat Records. A couple weeks back, we found ourselves caught up in a tropical storm in New Jersey, celebrating the wedding of a dear friend. Lucky for us, so was Emily Kidd, famed Rabotat performer and songwriter from Nashville. She took the time, mid-storm, to catch up with us and tell us more about her story, who she is, where she came from, and where she's going. With a new EP out on October 12th, we had a lot to discuss and a lot to celebrate. Let's dive in. All right, I know I'm hot. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. How do I sound, Mr. Engineer? Engineer. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4. I'm pretty loud anyway. Emily, how about you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I might get louder too because I get excited.
That's fair. And actually, we have lots of room
and
to
my
go.
laugh is loud too. So we'll see.
You're in good company, so you're fine. He'll bring us all down.
I don't even hear the fan or anything. We're all good.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. We may hear the cheers from the people downstairs watching football.
I kind of love that. I think that it adds to the show if we do have a little bit of interaction. I was also going to say your mom is here.
My mom is here.
So if at some point you also want to get her to say hi on camera or on mic.
on mic. Yeah. Well, maybe you guys will. She's
Walking?
walked to the liquor store. Maybe
She
you'll see her
walked?
on a way.
Oh my God. So she'll be coming down the street at any point, like bringing bags and goodies.
Yeah.
And I'm
full
so
of
excited.
sparkling seltzers.
Hey,
Hey.
would you consider your mom your biggest supporter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because she's been your ride or die like this whole time.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think I could have done. I would not have gotten where I am now without my mom's support because she helped out in many facets. But she's just one of those people that even when you feel like nothing's going right, she always seems to be able to find the ray of sunshine that you can hold on to. And I think it's probably permeated in my brain at this point.
Absolutely. You and your mom are a lot alike in like all the right ways.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. Because
Everybody knows. They know when they see my mom, they're like, yeah, you're Emily's mom. I can tell.
I wasn't going to put her on the spot. But it's so true. I kind of love that though, because I don't know. It's you have such a strong character and it makes a lot of sense that she's your mama. So it's super cool. So, okay, this leads me to a second question. Growing up, who the hell was your biggest musical inspiration? Was it your mom?
Well, my mom is not a musician, but she did have really good taste in music.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had always like Simon and Garfunkel and the Beatles and James Taylor and, all of that, all the good stuff being played in our house all the time. But I'm trying to think. My dad is a singer, and an actor. So he definitely like made it okay to be, a performer like that. My mom is a, seamstress too, so everybody's kind of creative in my family.
Yeah.
But we definitely never we never felt like we couldn't be artists in some way, shape, or form. So that was inspiring just to have parents that were cool with that. But I'm trying to think of the first musical person I would have said that.
Yeah, or
really
even
inspired me.
I'm interested just when you even caught the musical bug, because I know different people have different trajectories, especially when they're creative. So did you act when you were growing up? Were you in chorus? Where did it really kick off?
I was in choir in high school. I was in all of the choirs that I could be. And then I started doing theater because my dad was an actor and my sister too. And so they were doing a lot of community theater and stuff. And eventually my senior year of high school, I think I auditioned for the musical and I got in and it was extremely fun.
Which musical?
It was called High Spirits. And I played a ghost named Elvira. I played the ghost of the man and his new wife had just moved into the house and I was haunting the house.
Oh man. Shoot.
And I was really into the I guess punk rock emo music or Paramore. I know we've talked about Paramore.
Girl.
Paramore is still one of my favorite
You're
bands.
preaching to my heart.
Loved Paramore, loved Green Day and My Chemical Romance and all that. And then at one point in high school, I got really back into the Beatles. I went head first into the Beatles, and I had grown up listening to them, but then at a certain point I was like, oh, I don't want to listen to my parents' music anymore. Like I'm 13, 14 years old. I'm going to find my own music. And it was what was playing on the radio at the time. But then I don't really remember exactly what got me back into the Beatles, but I went full tilt and I had all these CDs in my car and I would constantly just be listening to a different Beatles album all the time. And then as I got older, I found Emmylou Harris, and that was like my gateway drug into country music.
The beginning.
Yeah.
How old were you when you found Emmylou Harris?
I was probably 19 or 20. And I had felt like it, and I was in Boston at a school that was primarily jazz based. And so I felt like a fish out of water because I had never really experienced or really even listened to jazz music. I mean, it's a wonderful genre, but I had a really loud voice, and all the girls there had like these nice, soft, like very pretty voices. And I felt, and Emmylou Harris has a beautiful voice, but she has some power behind her voice. So I felt like, oh, this is really cool. And that kind of was just like the gateway drug into all the other classic country, traditional country that I now am very inspired by.
Who would be your top 3 country female singers?
Emmylou Harris, definitely number 1. Loretta Lynn. I love Loretta Lynn's, and her songwriting too is just so perfect. Mm-hmm. And number 3, I do love me some Margot Price. I gotta say,
have Margot in here, right?
It's also her songwriting too. It's like the thing with her and Loretta, I think, is they write songs that are so perfect for their voice. And maybe it's not a traditional, like they could sing anything, but the music that they write and sing, it's so perfect. Yeah.
And also all rock and roll influenced too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting thing too, because like some traditional people, like you showed me Brennan Lee, and she's more like traditional country, and she's a little bit more like quiet because she's not the belt the same way.
But she has so much emotion in her voice, and that, like in her new album, there's a song called "The Red Flags You Were Waving," and the third verse, it's just so she just really, it's so like minimal, but you can just hear you can hear her singing her own words. Like it's just a different, not to say that, people that sing songs written by other people can't bring out the same emotion, but when you write the words and then you also sing them, it's like, it feels like you're peek into someone's life.
Absolutely. And there's also a performative aspect. That might be a part of your acting background, but like when people bring that element to their music and they're really in it and they really show you what to feel and what it feels like and sounds like, it's a pretty amazing thing.
It's a cool way to connect, because certainly I've seen, and I will say, as a fourth one, Waylon Jennings is another one. Just the way he sings, same thing. It's like he really had a kind of diverse career, but when he sings his shit, it's like he's singing his shit.
There's a stank to that stuff. It's like every time.
I'm thinking Amy Winehouse is another vocalist I love, because she just doesn't like. There's so much like stank on her voice, and she's singing exactly like how she would probably say it to you, and I love when you can just hear the truth in people's voice.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes the better, quote unquote, like traditionally better the singer is, the less honest they are in their performance, because they really like the sound of their own voice. So when people are kind of have their own stylistic singing, and they've kind of created their own sound, and I've gotten in so many, like arguments with people who are like, oh, so-and-so can't sing. I'm like, yes, they can. They sing what is coming out of their soul, basically. I mean, for lack of a better way to put it.
Absolutely.
But it's just, there's just a small difference that I feel like maybe only other musicians can tell, or fans of music, that, when someone is singing something that they wrote or that they really connect with, is another one.
It's very, very true. Speaking of things that people are writing, you yourself are an incredible songwriter. And so I'm kind of curious, because I don't know, we've talked about it a little bit between us, but what's the process like for you for your own songwriting? Like, you're talking about this natural aspect of like people bringing their own element of themselves to their music. For you personally, like, I'm just curious, do you spend a lot of time writing on your own? Is this just stuff that's coming naturally to you? Because your songwriting, I think, especially like when you look at like a song like Prisoner, that transcends and speaks to so many people that listen to it. It's just kind of an interesting thing to look at your own process too.
It's interesting because I don't really have one set process. Prisoner is a song that it literally kind of just came out of me in like 15 minutes. Yeah, it kind of just fell out. Yeah. It was during the pandemic, and I was really struggling with, I'm like an extrovert, and I really had just kind of started getting into the groove of being on stage, which took me a long time to get there. And then for everything to just shut down and not to be able to really see anyone or do anything, just being stuck in the house. It just kind of, it was really heavy. And then it just felt like I needed to get it out of me in that way. But put a tent on that circus. I went over to Dave Austin's house, and Griffin Winton came, and we just were kind of listing off funny sayings that I was telling them funny things my dad used to say.
No.
And put a tent on that circus was one of the things, like when someone was acting like crazy in public, he would say something like that, and we all just started laughing. And then the story just kind of came out of us, like we're just like kind of like, you know, building off of what each other was saying and making each other laugh. So it really is a wide variety. I don't think I really have a writing process. I probably should figure that out at some point.
I think what you're doing is working.
I just kind of like, I think of, if I'm having a strong emotion, it usually manifests at some point into some kind of song or poem or some kind of writing.
Do you practice writing often, or do you just write when you feel inspired?
I try to practice as much as I can. I'm not very good at being consistent with it, but I do. I remember in school they had us do stream of consciousness writing, and I've gotten a lot of good ideas just from sitting down, and I'm like, you know what, I just need to write. I'm not gonna think about what I'm gonna write. I'm just gonna start writing and just see what comes out. And I do try to journal. One of my resolutions of the next half of this year is to start journaling more, because I want to have a record of, because in college I wrote in a diary almost every day.
Did you? Okay.
And I have them still, and I really want to go back and kind of look through them and build some songs out of that, because it was more just recounting my days and the boys I was pining over, and you know, the people who were making me upset at work or whatever. But I definitely encourage people. I should do as I say. If you are a writer, you should be writing as much as you can, just to shake off the dust. But the stream of consciousness writing is easy because you don't put any pressure on yourself to write something like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write this song. You're just writing. And sometimes it manifests itself into something good, and sometimes you just spend some time writing, and
Absolutely.
then that's it.
You can also come back to it, and at some
Right.
point later down the line, you might be like, wow.
I'm going to make this when this podcast comes out, and be like, remind myself, remember you said you were going to write more.
Listen, this is your audio reminder that you need
Yes.
to write more, but that's absolutely fine. I'm curious too, when did you start songwriting? Like actually songwriting?
So I wrote my first song when I was 14.
Oh my God.
The song was called Tainted. I was a very big fan of Evanescence at the time, so it sounds like an Evanescence song.
Amazing.
But I won a karaoke contest in North Carolina, where I'm from, near Charlotte, North Carolina. I won a karaoke contest, and the grand prize was like studio time.
No way.
With these, I don't even remember the name of this guy, but that I won, and I wanted to record a song that I had written that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to do, and I think maybe I probably did an Evanescence cover because I got to do 2 songs, but I was really dedicated on, I wanted to have an original song. And my voice teacher at the time, Tim Leffel, shout out Tim. I haven't talked to Tim in a long time, but he helped me write this song, and he played piano on it. And we ended up not using the studio that I won the time in, because it got a little weird. But we found another studio, and I don't even know. I was kind of young, so I didn't pay for it. I don't know who paid for it. But we recorded the song with a band, and I remember thinking I was the coolest person that had ever walked the earth. I said, I have a song that I wrote and recorded, and this band is playing on it, and I can go listen to it. And that was my first song.
Holy cow.
It was called Tainted.
Tainted.
And
you were 14,
I was 14.
Oh my God. That's really cool. As a 14-year-old, that's a pretty unique experience.
Was that the when you knew you wanted to do music full time? Was that like the same moment, or were you not sure if you wanted to do music full time? When does like that moment you're like, all right, I'm gonna make a career out of music?
I don't feel like I ever truly thought I was going to do anything else.
Really?
I mean, because my whole family, they're artists, I kind of always knew I'd be doing music. But then there came a time when I was leaving high school. I knew I wanted to be in the music industry, but I didn't want to be on stage anymore. I had some kind of weird I don't know when that really changed, but I just remember thinking, I think my talents would be better suited supporting someone else in their dreams. I don't think that I want to be on stage. I was very insecure. I had a lot of, I had to work through some things in college, but eventually I did, I started getting on stage, and that it became a performance-minded, I guess, career path. But I knew I wanted to do music, didn't know always that I was going to be a performer.
Okay.
But it was going to be something. And I briefly wanted to be a psychologist, but
oh my God.
Then I realized I don't want to I have enough problems in my brain. I don't need to take anyone
other
else's problems.
That's fair enough.
No one else needs my help. I got to help myself first.
Well, in a way, if you can write good music, you're already kind of being a little bit of a therapist, psychologist.
Yeah, I hope that if there's even one person that listens to my songs and like, I totally feel this song, that's enough for me. Absolutely. Because that's a cool feeling when you're a music fan and you listen to a song, you're like, oh, that sounds like my life.
It hits you right and it's relevant. It's so true. So this is kind of going into a little bit of an interesting direction because of our proximity right now and where you live. I kind of wanted to talk about Nashville because you went from Boston to Nashville. What was like the big inspiration for making that journey? Was it music? Was it a person?
Well, when I was about to graduate from college, and when you're in the music industry, you go one of a few places in the United States, New York City, Nashville, or LA. Mm-hmm. And at the time I wanted to be an artist manager. So I was planning to move to LA. And at the time I was living in a large apartment. Well, it wasn't a very large apartment, but there were a lot of people in it. And Dave Austin was one of my roommates, and he had already decided he was going to Nashville. And he came home and put a bottle of whiskey on the table in the kitchen and said, let me just sell you on Nashville. And let me tell you why you should be performing, and you don't go like manage artists. You need to be on stage.
Oh my God.
And not too long before that, I got on stage with Dave at one of his shows because I was managing Dave Austin and the Sound in Boston. And I got up and did a couple songs with them. And I remember coming off that stage knowing, I really I want to do this, but I think maybe it took a little bit of time for me to work through that. But when Dave sold me on, we drank this bottle of what was probably Evan Williams. Was not good whiskey, I'm sure. Or not expensive whiskey. Evan Williams gets the job done.
It's called Just Whiskey for that.
Yeah, so, and he sold me on Nashville and basically said, you got to stop being afraid to be a performer. You got talent and you can write and you can sing and you just do it. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work out, you can always go to LA and do artist management.
Well, and you have that savvy, at least, you have the...
I feel like I've lost it a bit because I'm relying on you guys now.
I don't think so at all. Honestly, when you talk, it's like you have the sense and it helps so much. No. I think that's never going to be something. It's a muscle that... Because nowadays too, as an independent artist, even if you have label support, I mean, if we can even go into another subject, I mean, you and your husband, Alex, are both just hustling. You guys are the ones doing this thing. Yeah. Which makes it interesting because when you're in a relationship with somebody, but also, working with them, that has its own challenges, but also its own benefits because he probably knows you better than anyone else at this point.
And I can always know that any decision that he is making is a decision that is beneficial to me. Like he would never make a decision that he didn't think was something good for me or for us. Yeah. So, but of course, it's especially when he's producing. I mean, he's got one of the most impressive ears I've ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. And he can play damn near every instrument. A lot of the guitar on the earlier songs that we recorded, he's playing guitar and he's playing drums. And in some cases, I think he's playing bass or on some of the recordings. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to double check. But most of the bass is the Derek Whiteside. But it is, sometimes we have decided we don't listen to our mixes on the way to gigs.
Really? Because
sometimes I'll have an opinion, he'll have a different opinion, and we can't go into a gig arguing about a mix. So we've made it just a rule that and it always happens that the mixes get sent over to us while we're driving.
Well, you guys are also always gigging. To your
That's true.
point,
if we're in the car together, we're probably going to a gig,
and you're constant. So yeah, I mean.
But then when they get sent over, I'm like, no, we'll just wait. We'll listen to it on either the way home or we'll listen to it in the morning.
It's better this way.
Yeah, that's the one rule we have: no listening to mixes.
Well, that's a fair way to keep the sanctity of your marriage. Because at this point, has he been the producer on all the new stuff that you've done. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, he has an incredible ear, and he can really, I feel like he can hear stuff that is not there. And sometimes, we still, argue, but he'll say, I think we need this here. I'm like, no, we don't need that. And so we'll go back and forth. And sometimes he wins, but sometimes I win too.
And
yeah.
You mentioned Derek earlier, and Derek played in the first band you were in Just Whiskey. And then, I guess the first question is, how did you meet Derek? Because Derek is what I was talking to him, because he's at this wedding as well, and he's like a ride or die with this whole crew,
We love Derek.
Yeah, and like, how did you meet him? Like, what was like the process of, and why did he stick around?
That you might have to ask him. But I met Derek through Dave. Dave is going to be a central character in a lot of our stories because him and I were roommates for almost 10 years and we had a band called Just Whiskey. So that's how Derek came to be. We needed a bass player for Just Whiskey because when Dave and I moved here, we had a handful of songs and we were doing a lot of acoustic shows together. But eventually we wanted to start playing full band shows, and we met Russ Sternglass was our first drummer, and then Derek Whiteside, who worked at Apple, which is another thing that connects a lot of us. We all worked at Apple at one point in our lives.
All at the Boston Apple store?
He worked in the Nashville Apple store, and when Dave and I moved here, I left Apple because I just wanted to do something different, but he transferred to a different store, and Derek worked at that store. And so that's how we met Derek, and Derek still, I think to this day, is the longest person I played the longest with, because he was in Just Whiskey, and then when it became Emily Kidd and the Rhinestoners, he actually came up with the name the Rhinestoners.
Did he? Wow.
And so he's been with me through literally every moment of my Nashville performance life.
Yeah.
So we love Derek Whiteside. He's on the road with Nikki Lane right now.
Amazing.
Who we're big fans of. I went and saw her open for Lana Del Rey.
Like the best experience
big
of your
Lana
life.
fan too. Call me Lana.
Let's write a record, girl.
So Derek is an integral part of our sound for sure. Every bass line, I would think he's playing every single bass line. I think Alex maybe helped with the composition of some of them, but Derek is playing the bass on all of the recordings, and it's just got a whole spirit of his own. Like the bass playing in this band is so incredible because of Derek.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
And he's got big shoes to fill too. So it's hard when he's gone.
Yeah, I can only imagine, because also you've been playing with him for so long now. So how many guys from Just Whiskey are still, you guys are all still so closely connected, even though you're not necessarily playing anymore?
In Nashville, we play so many gigs and not to brag, it's just because we all play so many gigs. Sometimes people aren't available for certain performances, so we all kind of just, we still play with each other when someone needs a bass player or someone needs a drummer. We kind of all put each other first and, make sure that the homies get the call.
Yeah.
But Alex was in Just Whiskey for a little, he was playing with Just Whiskey. Matt Pugh, who is also here, he played with us in Just Whiskey for a long time too. Phenomenal drummers. And so it kind of, the way the community kind of functions in Nashville is just, if you need a bass player, 10 of them. So you just start going down the list and calling people, hey, do you want to play bass with me tonight? And eventually people know your set, so it's nice. They don't have to practice. You can sometimes call them. You can even sometimes call a bass player or drummer you've never met for, one of these gigs where we're playing classic country music in the honky tonks, and they know all the songs, so they don't need to practice. They can just show up, you tell them what key to play it in, and they got you.
Oh my God. Amazing.
It's really fun.
Like real professional musicians.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
I feel like I rambled a little bit there, but you guys can cut that down, right?
No, absolutely not. I actually think it's really interesting. And it kind of led me into, so I think it's interesting. You should probably tell everybody, because of all the artists on the record label, Emily is definitely the live music hustler. How many shows do you think you do a week in Nashville?
Anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5. It depends on the week, because we play at Robert's Western World every Tuesday, which is our favorite gig because we just get to play the traditional country that we like.
You love, yeah.
And people come there to hear it. So it's a little different in some of the places in Nashville that don't support the traditional country music as much as they used to. But we always play at Roberts every week at 10:30 to close. And then we play in Music Valley, which is the Palace and the Nashville Palace and Scoreboard. We play out there usually once, twice, 3 times a weekend, depending. So it really depends on the week, but anywhere from 1 to 4 gigs a week.
It's a lot. And then not only that, you're also not just playing in Nashville. So you're also traveling out. Like you spent some good time kind of going through Ohio, New York, right? Like
we went to Columbus, Ohio, and we played the Ramblin' House, and it was one of the coolest shows I've ever played. People are so nice in Columbus, Ohio. And we played 2 shows in Columbus. We did a house show there, and it was so much fun. And we went to Ithaca, New York, and then we went to Cleveland and played for all of the Recudos.
So cool.
And Dukes and Boots in Willoughby. It was very fun. I honestly, anytime I've ever gone to Ohio, I've had a really good time. No hate for Ohio, all love.
No, well, again, and you got a husband there, so you got to be kind.
That's right. And my husband's downstairs watching the Browns game, so just in case he can hear me.
You got to be kind. You got to be kind. And on that note, I have to ask too. So, of all the places that you've also traveled to, what's your favorite state that you've played in so far?
Oh, that's a really good question. Honestly, I like Tennessee.
Yeah?
I've played some really cool shows in Boston too, but all the great shows I've played that really stick with me, they were all in Tennessee.
Wow, that's super cool. I mean, you've only started too.
That's true. I've played a lot of places, but that's still a place where I like to go.
Well, it's home base. Do you see yourself, you and Alex, do you guys see yourselves staying in Nashville kind of for the long term at this point? Or
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's really the only place that we can do what we're doing and make the money that we're making, enough to survive, I should say. We're not, living high on the hog or anything, but we're able to make music and make money doing it. And that's, we're not on a huge scale, obviously. So it's nice to be able to pursue your dream on a level where you can still, pay the rent. Mm-hmm. But I also, we visited Austin, Texas last year, and I really liked Austin. So I think if ever we even entertained the idea of leaving Nashville, which I don't think that we would, but I think probably Austin would probably be the next venture.
Yeah.
It was just such a cool place.
I think also for what you're doing musically too, and I think for Austin's community, I mean, Austin's one of the biggest cities now that people are migrating to. So I think that you'd probably still have that element of what you get in Nashville there.
I would like to move somewhere where people are not moving, because there's too many people.
Well, that makes it hard, right? Because it's like what you said earlier. It's like, okay, in the music industry, where do you end up going?
You have to go where there are people.
Because Nashville itself, I mean, so you've been there how many years now?
It's been 8 years, I think. We moved there in August of 2015.
So you've seen it. Talk about a migration point. You've seen that place probably.
And it was already starting when we moved there. It was pretty... I remember talking to people that had lived there a long time. They're like, oh, everybody keeps moving here. Now I'm one of those people. Yeah. Stop moving here, please.
Well, we can't.
There's no more room. There's no more room.
When you've been here a certain point, you've earned that point to be like, no, get out. And actually, that leads me to something I did want to talk to you about, because you had a really fun celebrity interaction last week. What are the celebrity interactions that you'd like to share with us of your Nashville experience? Because you got one in particular I think you really should share.
Well, we had Kesha come up and sing with us.
You did.
That was really fun. We did Fancy by Bobby Gentry. She came up and sang with us at Roberts. I also had Charles Eston came up a few months ago, and he plays Deacon Claiborne on the show Nashville. I don't know if any of you ladies have watched that, but he's a strapping young lad.
Yes, very.
He came up and sang with us. He did a Linda Ronstadt song. That was very cool. And I've also just gotten to meet, all the people that I admire. Lucas Nelson. I think I was showing you that picture last night. We met him at the Underdog, which is one of the, it's a small venue in East Nashville, but it is one of the coolest places. And I've met Margot Price at Duke's in Nashville, all the East Nashville hotspots. I keep getting to meet the people that I admire, which is cool. Just got to find out where Emmylou Harris hangs out.
Right. That's the next step. Yeah. And I mean, that's the one that you're missing.
And not in a stalker way. Just like a normal, I hope I run into you on the street and get to shake your hand someday.
Well, she's there all the time, but in Nashville. But does she live in Nashville?
I don't know. I did just see actually a podcast with her and Rodney Crowell talking about the history of Americana music.
Oh, cool.
It was very cool. It was part of Americana Fest.
I don't know
Something's
if you can hear the
happened.
Browns. Yeah. Sounds like the Browns are doing good.
I hear clapping and let's goes. We're good.
So it means that it's good.
We're going to have a good night tonight, y'all.
I think so. I think we're going to be celebrating really, really hard tonight. I do have one question in particular I need to ask you because you kindly mentioned earlier kind of like you're going back to like the emo rock stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of like you have a little bit of that in you. You have rock in you. You have country in you. But I'm curious to know because our label is incredibly eclectic. We obviously have rock music, country music,
Yeah,
everything.
I love it.
If you are going to have somebody basically, if somebody doesn't listen to country music and you have one song of yours, an original song you can show them, which song is that going to be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it would probably be Cry Wolf.
Really?
I don't know why. Because Prisoner is definitely my most popular song, which surprised me. My favorite song is Ramblin' Days, but it is my least popular song. So I'm just kind of thinking, I mean, Cry Wolf is I feel like the subject matter is pretty relatable.
Yeah.
Because Cry Wolf is just about a friend I had that posted every emotion and like sad update about her life on social media just to get people commenting saying, oh, you're so brave. Oh, and it was just, and at a certain point you're like, what's really going on here? You're posting that everything is terrible, but when something bad actually happens, like no one's going to believe you because everyone thinks that your life is just so miserable because you're posting these things to other people that are playing the same game of like, I don't know. That probably sounds really harsh, but
Absolutely not.
if you have a family member that posts a little too much information on social media and it is annoying to you, this song is for you.
So actually, I think you're probably right. And of all songs that transcend relatability, that might be right there because we all have that person in our life who just will not let it go online.
It's like, I want you to get help, but I also don't need to see every step of your journey.
Yeah, you really need to just...
Social media, it should just be for sharing pictures of our pets, sharing new music, and I want to see your pictures from Greece, but I only want to see like 4 or 5. I don't need 25 pictures of you in Greece.
Every moment.
Just give me the highlights.
The highlights. A photo dump that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we have to talk about this really quick though. Going back to your music, you have a EP coming out on October 12th.
I sure do.
So I want to know if you can tell us what you think listeners can expect. What do you think will be new to listeners that you're looking forward to sharing with them?
So the majority of the EP is the songs that we have released up to this point, but there are 2 new songs. Well, I should say 1 new song and 1 cover song that we're doing.
The new song is one of my favorite songs that you've written.
That song is called Narcissism.
Speaking, it's like the cousin of Cry Wolf.
They were written definitely in the same era, for sure. But that was actually, so Narcissism, it's kind of that one kind of came about in a funny way because it was the part of the pandemic where there were all the protests and everybody was posting on social media about all these things. But I remember seeing this video of this girl who drove up to the protest in this beautiful gown, got out and stood in front of it, took a picture with it with a sign, and then got back in the car and drove off.
Oh, just for the gram.
It was just for like, she wasn't even there to protest and whatever, I don't honestly remember exactly what it was about, but I just remember feeling, so she just used this protest as a backdrop for her social media. Mm-hmm. And I just remember feeling so sick about it when I saw it. And then there was a story that came out about this couple that had adopted a baby that it was from another country, and they gave them a lot of notice, like this is going to be a lot of work. This child has a lot of issues, but they had their mommy blog or whatever. And so they adopted the baby and then it wouldn't work for their blog. So they sent it back.
That's terrible.
And I just remember thinking this was all just for their followers. It was all just to be watched. Mm-hmm. And it hurt the humanity in me.
Yeah.
That social media has become just has made everybody so shallow. Like, as long as I can take a picture of it and show that I did it, I mean, even going to a concert these days, people don't watch the show. They just want to post on Facebook that they were there.
It's their posturing. And it's like, here I am.
That's what narcissism is about. I think I was just like, this is crazy. You know, that people will glom onto any movement, whether negative or positive or whatever your view is, but they will glom onto it just so that they can get a like or a share, and it doesn't have any depth to it. So that's the new song, Narcissism.
Yeah, and then the cover, I think, because you mentioned Bobby Gentry a little while ago.
Mm-hmm. So this is a Bobby Gentry's "Ode to Billy Joe" is the other cover, or the only cover on the EP, but it really is a kind of a cool version that is completely out of just us playing live so much.
I was going to say, because this is when you play a lot.
Yeah,
live, right?
we started playing this song, and Derek and Alex came up with this swampy rhythm section. And it just kind of, we played it every week. So it kind of just took on a whole mind of its own. And the reason I wanted to put it on the EP is because I wanted it to be a little tribute to the live shows that we've done, because we have so many versions of songs that are really our versions, just because we all were so comfortable with each other and we could play around with it. And we did these songs so many times. Also to shout out our guitar player he was playing with us for a while, but just moved to New Mexico, Keenan Date. He was a big part of getting the sound to where it is now. And I really am glad that everybody is kind of featured on this track. And Tyler Feary, who is our steel player. And I mean, he just does such a phenomenal job. And that entire recording was done live in the studio.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we did a few takes, but it was all one performance. So I think maybe the acoustic guitar is overdubbed, but I could even be wrong on that. Yeah. Narcissism put a tent on that circus, and Ode to Billy Joe were all recorded on the same day, and most of it is live.
Yeah, that's like the traditional country style. And I know, speaking with Alex, he was saying that was like his whole concept for the record, like sonically, is to like almost make it, traditional country records were all made live in the take. Mm-hmm. And for people who are listening, don't really know this, a lot of stuff is just like chopped up and played separately, and you guys have made a record where you did everything piecemeal, right?
Yes. Well, the first Everybody Fool But Me, Cry Wolf, and Prisoner, and Ramblin' Days, so those, we started recording them during the pandemic, so we couldn't see anybody. So Alex was doing all the drums and guitar at the house. I think we recorded the vocal with Max Rubel at Wild Road Recording. But Derek and Matt Claiborne and Myrna, Dana B, they all flew in their parts, or they came to the house and recorded them. So we didn't get to do it all at once. And I really missed that, because that's how Just Whiskey mostly recorded too. Mm-hmm. We did it all in the same room at the same day.
Yeah.
And so it was, we're really proud of all of those songs, but it's just, there's some kind of magic when you all get to be in the room together. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the band, the Rhinestoners, had played those songs so many times live that it was so easy. Yeah. It was so easy. I mean, Narcissism just kind of, I think we did a couple takes of that, and it was just, it just was awesome. And no take was the same. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah. I think, and because Tyler and Keenan are so good at like just feeling the moment and taking a solo that kind of, just captures it. And it was a really great session. And Max was engineering it too. So we all had a really good time. And
Max worked with Rabotat a few times as well. And he's amazing. And he's been your engineer since you moved to Nashville.
Yeah. Honest to God, Max Rubel knows exactly what I want my voice to sound like. And I have, as anyone that's talked to me about music before, I have some kind of bugaboo with the way that they produce female vocals. I feel like, I think somebody said it, I don't know who said this, but they produce the character out of people's voices now. Okay. And there's just frequencies that I hate hearing, and I don't want to say I'm too picky, but Max would probably say that I am. And I know Alex thinks I am, but I just know what I want to hear, and I don't necessarily know the terminology. So I'm just trying to explain it to them in terms I think they'll understand, and they usually do. But I just, Max always seems to know what I want out of a out of a mix, and it's really, really nice to have that. And he's just an awesome guy. We used to be roommates, so
Yeah, he's here right now too, actually, or he was in town for this wedding too. So
everybody's
in town.
just, it's so comfortable to work with all of us because it's just nice when all your bandmates are your friends too. Yeah. And we can all, I mean, it obviously it causes friction sometimes, but for the most part, when you're on stage with your friends playing music, it's the best feeling in the world. I mean, Willie Nelson said it, right?
Yeah, but it's something in our line of work you don't see as often. It's not as common, where a lot of people are hired guns and they kind of just do their gig and then they just leave, or they're not like as committed, you know. And so it's kind of cool because it goes into the whole idea. It's like the whole overarching theme of this podcast, you know, kind of sounds like it's about the community that is behind everything that goes into this type of thing, you know, like
it's so true. The community is the number one thing, I think. I don't know how other music scenes are because I've really only ever been in Boston and Nashville doing music, but Nashville is very much, everybody leans on each other. And it's, even at this wedding, it's been kind of apparent because there's so many of us here, and even like, you know, our extended Nashville family, which people that we work with that don't necessarily live there. But everybody just wants to see each other succeed. Yeah. And it's so nice to have a support system like that. I don't know how it is in I can't compare it to other music scenes, but I can say that I feel like there is a much more supportive element here than anywhere else.
I think once you find the community too that is buys into what you're doing and also wants to make it better, I think that just makes it so great. I mean, I think you can find that anywhere, but I think it's just when you do find it, and it's just such a large community, like being at this wedding, it's, you know, a lot of boots and hats, and it's a lot of country.
Bolo ties.
Yeah, bolo ties. Yeah. But I think it's a really beautiful thing to see how the music evolves out of that, especially like your music, because that's the way traditional country was made, with like these guys like Waylon had his bands that he brought with him from Arizona when he went over to Nashville.
Right.
And then like Johnny Cash has always had the Tennessee 2 and the Tennessee 3, and those guys were with him forever. And so it's really cool to see this band, and even like Margot Price's band is a bunch of her friends and her husband. And so it's kind of a beautiful thing, and that's one of the great things about the country scene, especially like the more traditional and that real country scene. You know, it's not the hired gun vibe; it's the community.
Well, I think when people really care about this genre of music, because it's so, I don't want to say it's dwindling, because that's not the right word, but it is becoming more of a, I guess, a special circuit.
Yeah, like a niche.
Yeah, niche. That's a good word. It's becoming a little bit more tight knit, I think, because when you really care about this genre of music, you know it's important that it just keeps being made. And if someone's just good at the music, who gives a shit like if you like them or not as a person? It's really important that this music keeps going and it stays alive and people get to experience it, because you're not going to turn on country music radio like the big stations and hear anything that isn't heavily auto-tuned with fake drums. And, you know, like Chris Stapleton will sneak in there and Tyler Childers will sneak in there, you know, and they are phenomenal. But for the most part, it's all, you know, clap tracks and auto-tune, and
it's like pop music.
And
starting to get on that line of like,
and I mean, it's, if you like that kind of music, I don't mean to bash anybody that likes that kind of music, because I understand, like, when you're on a boat in the middle of the lake, that's what you want to listen to.
You need Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah,
you know?
you gotta have, you gotta have that rowdy, like, country music,
that bro
pop country music.
Yeah.
But the traditional music is so important, and I feel like when you find a community that also knows how important it is, everybody just wants everyone to be successful, and so that more people are hearing it.
So in Nashville, there are these different types of scenes, and I think for the average listener who doesn't, you know, maybe know a lot about Nashville, you know, you're in a very specific area of Nashville. People, I think, when they think Nashville, they just think country, and I think that's one of the things that maybe turns certain people off the country, because they think Florida Georgia Line and Sturgill Simpson and you know, Margot Price, Emmylou Harris, they're all the same thing.
Right.
And so it gets kind of put together. But the thing is there are these subgenres just like anything else, and there's these sub scenes. Like East Nashville has a certain vibe to it, whereas Roberts has a certain vibe to it, whereas AJ's, Alan Jackson's, and Kid Rock's Honky Tonk are going to play something different.
Yeah. I will say that that's the one thing that frustrates me. And my husband has told me so many times, he's like, you cannot get frustrated with people that don't understand that there is a difference between Casey Musgraves and Emmylou Harris. And there's a difference between Johnny Cash and, and Luke Bryan. I mean, I'm trying to think of, the requests I get that sometimes frustrate me because we've done an entire set of all these awesome classic country songs. And I'm like, that's what you want to hear now?
Well, you have a year cut off, you told me a few months ago for where you sing.
Well, I totally stole this. I think it was from Timbo, who is another one of our artists that plays at Roberts, or one of the artists that plays at Roberts, not ours. Timbo says that the music is PG, pre-garth.
Pre-garth.
So if you're at Roberts Western World, it's PG music. We'll make exceptions for two people. It's Dwight Yoakam and George Strait.
Okay, so you'll play like 90s Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah, I'm a big Dwight Yoakam fan.
Like Road to Nowhere or something.
Yeah, we do Turn It On, Turn It Up, Turn Me Loose.
Yeah, sure.
That's one of our that's our steel player is one of his favorite songs to do. And we do Fast As You, which I really like to sing. A couple other things, but everybody does Amarillo by Morning because it's literally the number one country song, and it's an amazing song. But our Keenan, our guitar player that's just moved to New Mexico, he was doing a lot of George Strait because that was his favorite. And he would knock it out of the park. It was really fun. Really, really fun. But the reason I kind of like that PG thing is because that's the music that I like. And of course, there's modern music that I enjoy. I enjoy Shania Twain. I would never want to, say anything against her because she's
country artist that
she shaped the 90s for me.
Oh, yeah.
But people ask me all the time, like, can you play something modern? And I'm always like, I can play something modern, but you're not going to think it's a modern song. But I love the music that's being made in the quote unquote Americana category now. I mean, because it really is what country, kind of used to sound like. And what Emmylou Harris and Rodney Crowell and the people hosting this podcast said was, you just know Americana when you hear it. And I don't even know if I necessarily would fall into that. We're heavily influenced by Loretta Lynn. I mean, the way that she writes songs is, I feel like that inspired me a lot, where if you look at something like Fist City, she's just like,
oh,
yeah,
so much
okay, I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Keep looking at my man.
And you're like, yes.
But it was very much like a knee-jerk reaction. And I feel like a lot of my songs are kind of knee-jerk reactions to feelings that I have.
Absolutely.
So I guess if I had a process, I know at the beginning I said don't have a process. Maybe my process is getting my something getting me so worked up I have to write a song about it.
Well, I think that in your case, that's working because you have a very good way of also articulating how you feel about those situations. And I think you're not afraid to say things that people might be. I think that sometimes diplomacy can really tamp down on the emotion behind what you're trying to get across. So it's super cool if you don't hide your real emotions and just really be kind of honest about how you feel.
I think things are so safe now, like with social media.
Yeah.
So like the way that you were talking about with narcissism and Cry Wolf, everyone's worried about what they look like and how they're approved and and if they're getting approval from people.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. It's like we talked about it in one of our podcasts with the rock and roll attitude. We were calling rock and roll it is a genre, but it's also like a state of mind. So Loretta Lynn is and Johnny Cash are just as rock and roll as and Waylon Jennings is
right.
super rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, Waylon Jennings started in rock and roll.
It's so true. I mean, yeah, you're right. It is kind of a state of mind for sure. I think that even the fact that Loretta Lynn was writing songs about birth control, she didn't write it, but she released a song about birth control in the 70s.
Yeah, banned.
And it got banned. I think it is a state of mind of you just say whatever it is you feel like you want to say. And if people don't like it, then, you can just turn it off. So that's fine.
Yeah.
And I know country has got this kind of weird, I guess, a lot of opinions surrounding it because some people are like, oh, country music, I hate country. I like everything but country. I hear that all the time. And but country is so diverse. It's not, it is there are so many different versions of country, and there's so many different communities and facets that kind of come out of that. And I'm sure it's the same for other genres too, but I just don't have a whole lot of, experience in those genres.
Yeah, but I also feel like country gets, especially, well, I think probably around the entire world, I think country gets the most hate as far as that goes. And it's just like there's that's the thing you always hear, right? Like when I taught music lessons in LA, you would always ask students, well, first thing I ask them, right, is like, well, what kind of music do you listen to? Well, I listen to everything. Okay, yeah, you like everything? Oh, except country.
Right. I've heard that so many times.
But do you like Johnny Cash? And I love Johnny Cash.
Oh, yeah.
And you like country.
Johnny Cash is the gateway drug for a lot of people, which is really good because, and Dolly Parton for sure. I mean, we do Dolly Parton songs in our cover sets, and, people go absolutely insane because they just love Dolly Parton. They love Johnny Cash, and they crossed over. So they're just like, I'm sure they're still referred to as a country artist, but they are, they're, I guess, rock star
They
status.
get it both, I think equally. And what's interesting too, really thinking also about the history of country music, it's an American genre. It's like really comes from this, and it's got a long history, but there's so many different between Marty Robbins, and you look at like Jimmy Davis, who did You Are My Sunshine, like one of the OG guys, and you look at Waylon, and then you look at somebody new, like any number of persons coming through the 90s, 2000s onward. It's just so diverse, so there's so much bleed through. And
well, even when Lana Del Rey came and sang a song at Roberts a couple weeks ago, she did Stand By Your Man. And a lot of the people I knew that were country musicians were like, oh, well, she didn't really sing it. Like, she's not a country singer. She's not like, people kept saying that. And I was like, well, yeah, she's not a country singer. And she didn't try to sing it like a country singer. She sang it like a Lana Del Rey song. And I thought that was so, to me, I'm a big fan of hers, so that's probably a big part of it. But to me, I'm like, yeah, that is a country song, but she sang it like a Lana Del Rey song.
She sang it in the rock and roll spirit.
Yes, it was the spirit of the song, and I thought it was I thought it was awesome. But because I was on that stage a couple of days later, and that was amazing. But I remember having that conversation with several people. I'm like, no, she sang the song, but she didn't need to. She's not a country artist. Why would she sing it like that? Because and everybody that is listening to this that has ever been in Nashville, when someone got up and sang Stand By Your Man, people always really belt the shit out of it. And you kind of have to, because that's that's what people want to hear. But the fact that she got up there and didn't try to do a belting like Tammy Wynette version of that song, she just did her, her Lana version. I loved that, and that to me was a big part of this is a spirit of country music, spirit of rock and roll. It's just when someone is a true artist, it doesn't really matter. When you're a real true artist and you just go where the wind kind of takes you, which I think is important, And I mean, look at Sturgill Simpson. He had 2 incredible country albums, and then he released a rock record, and then he released 2 bluegrass records.
Yeah.
And he does not give a shit if you like it or not.
Sure.
He's like, this is I have something to say. I want to do music that I want to do, and I don't want to keep doing this music. So I think that's really nice when people are like, I'm just a musician. I'm not a country musician or a rock musician or whatever. But, I always really respect just the spirit of any musician that can kind of transcend and go back and forth, because there's always that question about authenticity. Like, oh, are you authentic? Are you country enough for country? Are you rock and roll enough for rock and roll? Honestly, who gives a shit? Do you like the music? Who cares if it's,
Right.
If it's authentic, you'll hear it. You don't need to ask. You'll know. If it's authentic, you'll know.
They'll speak to you.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself switching into doing another genre and experimenting with a different genre with your music, like trying to do something that maybe isn't more on the traditional country side, but maybe still has some of those flavors in there? Kind of what we were talking about with Sturgill Simpson with what is that Fury record? What is it? The Sound and Fury record.
I am open to it. Honestly, right now, my favorite sound in the world is the sound of a steel guitar. So I've just, ever since I started playing with a pedal steel in the band, I just want to do music that serves pedal steel.
That's awesome.
Because I'm open to it. I mean, I'm open to anything I don't ever want to say. I think we were just talking about this before we hit record. I never, with people or with music or anything, I never want to say, oh, I'm never going to do that. because I don't know how I'm going to feel in 6 months or a year or however, or if I'm going to hear a song that is new and exciting and just completely changes like my thoughts about, about music. And my friend Griffin Winton from my songwriting partner, he always says it would be really sad if all the best music has already been made. Like, you have to have hope that there's more, like your favorite song is, you still haven't heard it.
Haven't heard it or hasn't been written yet.
Yeah, we had a conversation like that because I was probably lamenting about people requesting songs I didn't want to sing because sometimes I get a little saucy. And he was like, well, you can't, there's still good music being made out there. Like, just because it's new doesn't mean it's bad. I'm like, well, I know, but he's like, you just got to be a little more open-minded. And Griffin Winton is the most open-minded music consumer I have ever met in my life. So he listens to anything, and he has intelligent, we can have intelligent conversations about pretty much any genre and any artist. He knows a lot. So,
we were talking about this beforehand, but I'm curious because you are so deeply in your own community, but also in the music that you're listening to. Who are the new artists right now that you think really deserve a little?
Well, none of them are new artists, but people that have put out records this year that I can't stop listening to. Brennan Lee's Ain't Through Honky Tonkin' Yet. I'm obsessed with that record. And Brennan is so sweet. I mean, she's just a nice person. Get to see her around Nashville. And
I was going to say, you've met her, right?
Yeah. She actually played at Roberts for a really long time, and still does. But now she's all over doing all these kinds of cool stuff.
Now. She's getting bigger.
Just awesome. I also love Lucas Nelson and The Promise of the Real, their new record, Sticks and Stones. It's got that rock and roll spirit, but it is a country record. It sounds incredible. We have, I'm trying to think of, it's like I forget everybody that's ever existed when I get asked this question.
I know, and it's,
Nikki Lane, yeah. Lane. Oh, her new album, Denim and Diamonds, is it's rock and roll because it was produced by Josh Homme. I really hope I just pronounced that right, but it's the guy from the Queens of the Stone Age.
The best.
And I'm a big Queens of the Stone Age fan.
Are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know this about you.
Well, their record,
Emily.
like Clockwork.
Yes.
I was obsessed with that record for a very long time.
Smooth Sailing.
Yes.
Like that music video.
We should put that. Oh my God. Yeah, we should put that on later.
I had no idea. Yeah. I mean, his influence is all over that record too, right? It's like
it sounds like a Queens of the Stone Age record with Nikki Lane singing on it.
So I actually found
it's so cool.
When you told me that Nikki was opening for Lana because Derek's playing with Nikki.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at that pairing. And then the more I've actually seen the videos of them together, it absolutely
you can just tell that they're friends.
Absolutely.
And they love each other. And I just think that's so cool because when you can really see two people like that, that maybe their music doesn't match up exactly because it doesn't. No. But the womanhood, like the spirit of the woman, it's just
it's there.
It's a post Barbie movie world. Everybody.
Oh my God, so true. So we need this. We encourage this.
Any woman that's listening to this that has not watched the Barbie movie, I'm gonna need you to go immediately watch it when this is over.
I still have not.
You gotta watch it.
Okay.
It's a movie made by women for women.
Us.
It's fun.
Well, I'm assuming you were a Barbie girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of that generation.
I mean, 90s. I remember the figure skater Barbie for sure. Yeah. I remember her.
Probably had like numerous amounts. Should we go ask Anne how many Barbies she still has floating
I'm sure.
around the house?
Beanie Babies too.
Oh yeah,
we had a lot of
era.
Beanie Babies. I would not go anywhere without some of my Beanie Babies as a kid. So
do you have some tucked away here in this trip?
You know what? Maybe. Maybe.
Not
good luck in my suitcase. I still have a few of them in my house that I don't even like. I'm probably going to give them to my niece because I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I just like looking at them. They just sit in the closet like on top of the
Well, at one point they were supposed to be worth something, right?
It's like no, I think we gave all the ones that were worth something. We already gave them away, like the Princess Diana bear.
Oh my God.
I had one of those.
Wow.
That was cool.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. My aunt worked at a travel agency at the mall, and there was a kiosk right outside her office that sold the Beanie Babies, so she would run out and grab Beanie Babies for us.
I miss this time.
It was
this world.
What a time it was.
The pre-garth, the pre-garth era, the PG era.
That's PG post-garth.
Yeah.
Beanie Babies are post-garth.
Yeah.
Garth is getting ready to retire, I think, when those things came out.
I want to say that maybe Jesse Lee Jones came up with that, but I heard it from Timbo at Roberts. This is like a Roberts phrase, I guess, that PG thing. I definitely don't want to take credit for it.
But it's worth mentioning because, it's totally everything.
Okay, so just a couple questions just outside of music in Nashville. What do you like to do with your time when you're not doing music? And I know music plays such a huge part of what you do. You work at Robert's Western World currently.
Yes.
And you're also, playing all the time, like sometimes 5 nights a week, or 5 gigs a week. So what do you like to do? Like you like to go out and eat? You said you're an extrovert.
Yeah. So. Well, I like to go see other people play music too, the thing is there's so many good musicians that are constantly playing a show right up the street. Because we live kind of close to Dee's Country Cocktail Lounge, which is one of the best places to go see original live music. It's one of the best. And so, we'll just go see our friends play, which is really cool because it's all, we live on the east side, so everything's so close. Yeah. But there's Honky Tonk Tuesday on Tuesday nights, which we're at Roberts on Tuesday, so we don't get to go quite as often. But I mean, if you're there in Nashville on a Tuesday, go to Honky Tonk Tuesday and then come see us at Roberts afterwards. It'll be fun.
That's a whole night.
But yeah, the Underdog. There's the 5 Spot. There's just a lot of amazing places to see music. And then I just, sometimes go and hang out with my girlfriends if I just need a break. Because a lot of my girlfriends, my friend Dana, she is a musician, so her and I can kind of, commiserate on that. My friend Steph is not a musician, but she's married to one, so she understands. So sometimes when you just need to hang out with your girls, that's not talk music, go get a glass of wine somewhere.
If you could recommend somewhere to go and get food in Nashville or to go get a drink in Nashville, I mean, if you want to see live music, I'm sure you can think of a few places.
Yeah.
But if you just wanted to go out and eat, like where do you go? What are your top places you like to go out and eat?
So we love. I love 210 Jack. It's a really good restaurant in the Eastland Shops or the Eastland area of East Nashville. If you're going to get barbecue, go to Edley's. Everyone has their opinion on what the best barbecue is in Nashville, but it's Edley's. You've heard it here first. And for a cocktail, the cocktails are awesome all over Nashville, honestly. But there's a tiki bar called Chopper that this is all kind of in the East Nashville area, but they do just really interesting drinks, and it's always a rotating. They have the cool glasses, and it's always a theme, and they do Christmas themes and summer, and it's just fun. I like to be entertained by my drinks while I'm drinking them.
You're all about experience in addition to what you're.
I am all about the experience. I mean, I'm down to go to Mickey's and play darts too, but if I'm going out on the town, I want a cocktail that's looks as good as I do.
Absolutely. And it better taste as good as well. You're make it sweet, make it tasty. Throw a little grenadine in there. I love it.
No, she didn't.
I did. But can I just tell you, I am a firm believer of grenadine. I've always been. I always will be. I have to have it sweet.
We had a grenadine moment
But
the cocktail hour.
It's a moment of connection in that moment when you realize that you're not the only person. Emily, I drink it straight. So you get whatever that says about us as people. It's fine.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good drink.
It was a good drink, and it's been such a good weekend.
Yeah, we've had a lot of laughs.
I know, and we have to head back down to our crew. But I did want to ask you one more question.
All right.
What's going on for you in the next couple months? Obviously, this EP is coming out October 12th, but what else? I know you probably got a ton of tour dates.
So we're going to be playing an EP release show on the 12th at the Underdog.
Yeah.
With Timbo is opening up for us, which is so awesome that I asked him with my fingers crossed, I hope he wants to do this. And he said yes. So that was really cool. He's absolutely phenomenal. If you know anything about the country scene in Nashville, you know about Timbo for sure. And so it's going to be a really fun night. We're still at Roberts every Tuesday, 10:30 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Always.
We're fueled by Red Bull.
As you should be. It gives you wings, baby.
And Honestly, I can't really think of anything else.
I mean, that's a lot already.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, if people want to know what you have going on, the big place to check is Instagram.
I am the best at updating Instagram.
Yeah.
I do my best with Facebook. I really do. But sometimes opening Facebook stresses me out. So I don't open it as much.
Oh, there's also how many different ways you can post this information.
But Instagram at Emily Kidd Music. Yeah, got it all out. That's right. I always post a story if I'm playing a show that day. I always try to make sure that, if people are around and they want to come out, I put it. And I'll usually try to also post a schedule so people can know ahead of time too.
You're also a really cool curator of local content as well, because you are going to other shows. You can also check Emily's page out just to see kind of what she's seeing in Nashville. Yeah. I always really like seeing the artists that you also are just sharing in general. So
yeah. Cool. I want to also shout out King Corduroy, because he is another one of the local artists. I know you mentioned about local artists the other day, and he's another really great one. And I think he's working on a new record. Oh, cool. And his wife, Dana B, is also a phenomenal musician and one of my favorite people.
She's your friend.
She's my friend, and she is the fiddle player on Prisoner. So,
oh yes,
beautiful
fiddle
player.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm trying to think of other local artists, but my brain is not quite functioning.
We're
as
quite
it should.
at that point anyway.
This is post-wedding reception. So.
Yeah, we were at a wedding reception last night.
And if you know anything about Dave Austin, we should be on an IV right now. So it's kind of amazing we were able to do this podcast in the first place. So
Coffee has helped significantly. But yeah, on that note, Emily, thank you so much for joining us today. It was awesome to talk to you finally about just your trajectory and hear from you. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I hope you can edit out all the the bad parts.
It's relevant.
I rambled a little. But
Ramblin' Days, baby. Ramblin' Days. It all comes full circle. Right. Go listen to Ramblin' Days, everybody.
Yeah. Get them streams up.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Emily Kidd's EP is coming out October 12th, so make sure you stream or download it wherever you listen to your music. And this was Rabotat Radio, episode 11. I'm here with Iron Fist, Matt Woodford, and
Emily Kidd.
Emily fucking Kidd. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.